Okay.
All right, so last time we began planning. Now today we finish the planning. When we have planning, I first explained that you had company strategy. No PowerPoint. Company strategies, then you have competitive strategies, and after competitive strategies I discuss goals, and I will review very quickly. This is coming from page 141 at the very bottom, the well-written goals. And well-written goals should be always in terms of results. You focus on results. Second, soon enough going to be separated, okay? They have to be measurable. Goals have to be measurable or quantifiable. The goals got to have something like a number. For example, we can't just say we grow the university, say we grow the university by 50 students. That's a number. They have to be very clear with time frame. We have to grow 3% or 50 students within 1 year or within 2 years. Goals have to be challenging. In other words, they shouldn't be too easy, they shouldn't be too difficult. Another one, goals should be written. Goals should be clearly written. And the last one, they should be communicated. So, which are the six steps to set the goals? That's on page 142. The first step is to evaluate the organization's mission and to evaluate employees' key job tasks. New girls, hello. You, yeah, separate, move away. And unfortunately like that. And, okay, you want me to wait a few more minutes? You need 10 more minutes? So, number one is evaluate the employees' key job tasks. Number two, you evaluate your resources. So, for the university, the resources will be classrooms and teachers. For students, it will be also maybe dorm rooms. Do you have enough dorm rooms or not? Number three, you determine the goals individually, person by person or department by department by department. They should be, again, measurable and specific. Next step is very similar to what I said. Goals should be written and well communicated. Pretty much everyone should know what is the goal. The next piece is the control piece. Once you have certain goals, you gotta have a specific, it's called feedback mechanism, to check whether these goals are attained and to see who's doing well and who's not doing well. So you basically look and say who is doing well, who's not doing well, or what is happening. And the last piece for any type of goals is when you have specific goals, you need to have the reward linked to goals. So if someone is doing a good job, they will get a better pay. If someone is not doing a good job, they're not getting a better pay. They actually can get a pay cut. Or, for doing a good job, employees get a bonus. Alright, so that's typical. So, continuing with page 142, we have the next piece is what are the types of plans that managers do? And types of plans depend on 4 fundamentally different things. Number 1 is breadth. is the plan, we call it strategic or tactical. So I have a strategic plans and I have tactical plans. New ones, separate, okay? Separate. Yeah, we should also do some of the others too, just in case. The one in the middle there and the one just start separating out, because unfortunately it doesn't work like that. Yeah, and the three of you, the one in the middle, yeah. Also. Alright, so it could be tactical. Tactical will essentially mean also operational. It is associated with particular steps. Strategic is very broad-based. So strategic focuses on the big picture. We call it the strategy. Tactical focuses on the operations, on the day-to-day operations. Next one is time frame. Plans could be long-term, maybe 2 years, 5 years, 10-year plans, or they could be short-term. Short-term will be 6 months, maybe 1 year. So, according to time frame, it could be short-term or long-term. Back in the old days, when the environment was particularly stable, you could easily plan 10 years ahead. So long-term plans were 5 to 10 years into the future because the environment was not dynamic. Things didn't change much. You could predict what happens 2, 5, 8 years into the future. Now everything is extremely uncertain. You also have major changes in the economy. You get suddenly United States in a recession. You get UK into a recession. Now Japan suddenly is in big trouble. So things change so fast that predicting 10 years into the future is impossible. It's very hard to predict even 5 years into the future. The third way to divide plans will be specificity. And plans could be, we call them specific or directional. Specific plan is what it says. All right, 2 of you. Hey, separate, separate. Yeah, separate, okay? 1 of you. Yeah, unfortunately. No, that's no good, no good. Yeah, it's your fault, right? All right, so specific plans are clearly defined. They're well defined. There is no room for interpretation. You simply follow it. You follow the plan blindly. Directional plan gives you the overall direction. It gives you the main ideas. There is a certain form of flexibility. That's the key word. It provides, it's a flexible plan which gives you a general guideline. And the last type is based on the frequency of use. And according to frequency of use, you get single-use plan, or you call it ongoing plan or standing plan. In a single-use plan, you have your plan, you do it only one time, you use it for the period, and after the period is gone, you discard the plan and you get a brand new plan. In an ongoing plan, or a standing plan, you have this plan which you use, let's say, every summer. Every summer during production, that's what happens, and as the model changes, you have certain steps to go through. So in a standing plan, you use the same plan over and over with minimum changes, So let me repeat again. The types of plan are according to breadth, number 1, they are strategic and tactical. Then according to time frame, they are long-term and short-term. According to specificity, they are specific or directional. And according to frequency, they're one-time or ongoing. The one-time is called single use, and the ongoing is called a standing one. There are, when you develop a plan, what's called a contingency factors. And you have a number of contingency factors. Contingency means something may happen or something may not happen. Contingency means depending on what happens in the environment. So you got three types of contingencies that we discussed. The first contingency is called the organizational level. A plan for the whole organization at the top level is more likely to be strategic. That's what we discussed before, is associated with the big picture. At the low level, the plan is more likely to be operational. So, at the top level, you will have the university thinking, do we open another branch? Or in this particular branch, do we open a new faculty or a new major? Okay? At the low level, for example, here, for the Faculty of Hospitality and Tourism, the question is, do we increase the number of students, I don't know, picking a number from 700 to 750. Another type of the plan is, do we need to hire one more professor for the next semester? Or what kind of major that professor should have? So the time frame tells you, the level tells you how operational the plan is as opposed to big picture. The other one is, I already discussed, it's part of this course, is the environmental uncertainty. And the environmental uncertainty, again, if the environment is extremely uncertain, as it is today, if it's extremely uncertain, you will have what we call flexible plan. A flexible plan, again, will give you the general guideline, will give you the direction without being extremely specific. Or, even if it's specific, it's within certain parameters. For example, we may say, well, we're looking to grow the department with 40 students, but anything between 20 and 50 is okay. So that gives you certain flexibility. And the last principle when you do, the last contingency variable is a time frame. And the time frame is associated with what's called a commitment. The commitment concept tells you, if we planned 3 years ago something, for example, that we're going to build a brand new hotel, and the hotel should be coming in ready now, our new plan should incorporate decisions that we made 3, 2, or 1 years ago. In other words, decisions that were made in the past. So if we decide we're going to build 3 new hotels, for example, 1 hotel to open this year, 1 hotel to open next year, and 1 hotel to open 2 years from now, your plan for, let's say, a number of customers should include that, oh, this year we got 5 hotels, so we're going to have a certain amount of customers. Next year, we're going to have 6 hotels, so the plan has to include the number of hotels is 6 to increase the number of customers. For 2 years from now, you have to say, oh, we're going to have 7 hotels, so we're going to have even more customers. We'll need to hire even more employees. In the year after that, we're going to have 8 hotels. So you have to be thinking about previous plans and previous investments which you make as these investments come online. If you begin building a new hotel now, expecting it to be operational in 2 years, you, when you make the long-term plan, will include that information. Okay, after 2 years, we're going to have another hotel. And approaches to planning, I already mentioned it at the very beginning of the lecture, is you have formal planning and informal planning. A formal planning is a process where specific people, usually a whole department, is dedicated to the process of planning, and they generate or produce a specific plan, a formal plan, and that's a written document. It's a written document which is like a guideline for everyone in the company, providing the broad strategy, strategic plans, and includes all the operational plans. So that's a formal plan. Sometimes it will have a formal planning department. It's going to be 1 or 2 people for a small company, but it could be 5 or 20 people for a large company. People who are devoted particularly to planning. They're going to be thinking not only in terms of output, they're going to be thinking in terms of resources, of what they use. They're going to be thinking in terms of employees. They're going to be thinking in terms of materials. They're going to be thinking in terms of stores and shops and customers. So they're going to be thinking about every step of the, we call it now, the business process. Every step of the business process, and they will try to plan everything to make sure that the plan is, it's called integrated. Integrated plan means that the different pieces of the plan fit together, all right? You can't just say, we're going to be producing 10% more cars and not think of increasing the number of employees. Apparently, you're going to need a few more workers for that. Okay, so which are, that's section number 4 on page 145. And it's simply, what are the contemporary planning issues? So, contemporary planning issues. And the key contemporary issue, I've already discussed it a few times, is the uncertain environment. Today, the global environment is very uncertain, especially since 2008. Now, the biggest uncertainty in the global economy is China. In 2013, the Chinese economy appears to be rapidly decelerating. Some people believe the unthinkable, that the Chinese economy can actually go into a recession. Here's what recently happened. The Central Bank of China discovered that there's been a major fraud going on where enterprises or businesses indicate that they are selling goods abroad in a foreign country. They take the foreign money from the foreign country into China. They sell the foreign money, for example, the dollars or the euro, to the Chinese central bank, and they get Chinese currency for it. And that's it. Here's the real story. The real story is they were not selling any goods at all. They didn't sell anything. They borrowed the money cheaply from Europe. Once they borrow the money cheaply from Europe, meaning they borrow the money for 1% or maybe 2%, they bring the money to China, convert it to Chinese money, and then they lend it inside China at 5%. And they pocket the difference between 1% and 5%. So they have designed a money-making machine where you just borrow abroad, lend the money at home, collect the interest, and maybe later return the money back abroad. But the money coming in is recorded as exports. as if goods went to another country, but goods were not entering into another country. And suddenly people waking up and say, oh, probably the export data are not correct. Probably the whole growth numbers are not correct. Maybe China is not growing but with 8%, but it's growing barely at 4%. And the Chinese economy is steadily going down into a recession. And if Chinese economy is steadily decelerating, this is really bad news for countries that deal with China. This is very bad news for Taiwan, especially bad news for Australia, bad news for Hong Kong, for Singapore, for Macau, and a whole bunch of other countries which are dependent on the Chinese economy, including here Thailand, which is getting a whole bunch of Chinese tourists. Right now, the country #1 for outgoing tourists in the world is today, in the year of 2013, China. China is sending abroad more students than any other country in the world. So, it's not students, I mean tourists. And if Chinese economy rapidly decelerates, it's going to threaten significantly, the overall tourist flow around the world and here in Thailand too. So that's just one example of uncertainty and how it's extremely difficult to plan. Apart from uncertainty, you have similar concept which is dynamic. Dynamic environment means things change really fast. That's not exactly the same as uncertainty. Dynamic environment will be the IT environment, the electronic environment, where you get another device, where you get another operating system. For example, Google is releasing now a brand new operating system, Google Chrome, okay? And they're, Firefox, my mistake, Firefox, not Google. And they are trying to introduce Firefox on mobile devices. It may work, it may not work. The point is that the technology environment is changing very rapidly. So you have certain industries that move real fast, okay? Which has nothing to do with the uncertainty related to Japan or to China or to global market economy. It has nothing to do with uncertainty related to, let's say, global diseases like SARS or the avian flu, which can actually affect a whole continent. So some industries are simply very dynamic, okay? And you got a dynamic environment. So when the environment is uncertain, you don't make plans specific, you make the plans flexible, okay? Also, when the environment is uncertain, you make the plan to be like a roadmap. It's more strategic, it's more directional. You don't try to be too specific. So you make it more of a roadmap. And also, when you plan like this, you would be more alert to environmental changes. So you're going to be looking, right now you should be alert for what's going on in Japan, especially what's going on in China. And one of the most unstable economies in the world right now is Great Britain. And here you get a lot of British tourists. So the British economy is extremely unstable, it's fiscally unstable, it's monetarily unstable. A lot of things are going on in Britain that should not be going. So you should be watching all of those things. One of the keys to modern issues in planning is that managers should learn, or actually should teach their employees planning. So planning is something that you learn. It's not just for the top management to learn, it's also for the middle management, it's also for the lower level management and even for the ordinary employees. So one of the contemporary issues today is that managers and employees alike should learn and understand the planning process. Planning process is important. You can't just leave it to the very top management, or you can't leave it to any specific department. So the planning process should involve more people, more management within a particular company. For example, when the president of the university says, oh, we want to grow a particular department of the university, let's say by 7%, and then they say we want to grow the faculty of hospitality and tourism with 7%, then he or she should consult with the FHD over here, with the department. Hey guys, are you going to be able to grow at 7%? Do you have all the necessary resources? Do you have students willing and eager to come to study? Okay. Sometimes students don't want to go to study a particular major. Sometimes they're not interested in a particular major. Okay. Sometimes, again, you don't have the professors. Okay. They say, oh yeah, we can grow at 7%, but we need to grow the faculty by 10%. Right now at 30 professors, we need to add 3 more professors. I'm making up the numbers, maybe 20. We need to hire 3 new professors teaching these courses, okay? So the idea is that you just don't say, oh, this is what the new plan is, and that's the end of the story. Just tell them, you actually involve them. In a dynamic environment, actually planning is a skill which can be and should be learned by employees. All right, and the last piece to finish this particular lecture with planning, that's on page 146, is the 2 topics of, number 1, environmental scanning. And environmental scanning is what I explained a while ago in a previous lecture, looking at the external environment, looking at the economy, looking at the political environment, looking at the legal environment, looking at the global issues. So you're looking at the external environment and you keep your eyes open for changes. As I just suggested, right now, businesses should keep their eyes open on China because things are rapidly changing now in China. Just last week, the Chinese stock market crashed completely. It collapsed literally 15% out of nothing. So these are the things that you should keep in mind. And the other one is called competitive intelligence. Today in the modern business, you should know as much as possible about the competition. A business, when you're in a particular business, should know what competitors are planning. You should know what competitors are thinking. You should know what they are developing, what new products they're going to be using, what new advertising they're going to be using. You should know what their plans are. Well, no wonder that business plans, especially strategic plans, are typically business secret. Businesses don't just usually tell to the whole world what they're planning. But there are still ways to find out. Now, one of the ways which in the West is considered, in some countries in the West is considered illegal, is called espionage. You actually send somebody to find out. They go through their garbage, or they tap their phones, or they literally listen to the conversations of executives, or they send someone in the company working inside, for example, sending a very nice secretary for the big boss, or near the big boss, who would be scanning through and reading the documents to find out what is going on. So espionage is generally illegal, but competitive intelligence, which means trying to find out as much public information as possible about your competitors, is perfectly legal. You read their reports, you read everything about what they say in the media, in the press, and you try to guess what they do or guess what they develop. So with all of these topics, especially espionage, you got problems with legality and with ethics. Sometimes it is considered that just sending a spy to another company to discover their secrets is very unethical, even though, depending on the type of spy and the operation, it may be perfectly legal. So these are some of the basic issues, but the two big ones to remember is environmental scanning. You gotta keep looking around the environment constantly. And number two is competitive intelligence. What are your competitors up to? For example, Samsung Galaxy, they would like to know what is going to be most likely the next iPhone and what kind of features and characteristics the next iPhone will be. That's why Apple is very careful not to tell the world what the next iPhone 6 is going to look like. So right now people are only guessing, they're only thinking, but they wouldn't know yet. It's a company, it's a corporate secret. All right, that's good enough. 10-minute break. Cameron.